Hello, everyone, and welcome to STOked, the ultimate Star Trek Online podcast. My name is Chris.
My name is Jeremy.
Hey there, J-Man.
Hi.
We got a packed episode today.
I know, so much stuff to talk about.
It's crazy. Well, we've got a pretty meaty Ask Cryptic. I think we'll dive into that up first. But then, of course, some new developments in Season 3.
Yep.
We got an official Season 3 launch date. And then the Foundry was released.
And then unreleased.
And then released again.
And then and hopefully it'll stay this time.
So we got some early impressions. We'll chat about that.
I've also got some info on the Borg Special Task Force loot set.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then also an update on the status of the Great Klingon Experiment.
Experiment. That's right.
And then, in the second half of the show, we have got our Star Trek Geek buying guide. We know. This is probably just going to be a list for yourself to get yourself something because you are probably a Star Trek geek.
So invite your friends and family to watch this episode of STOked with you.
And if nothing else, you could send them the show notes. Just say, here's their show notes. Just go down that list. You can buy me anything from that list.
That's right.
You know, because I actually do have found this says, I'd like to get a Christmas list from you this year. Mm-hmm. This would be perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
Watch my show.
Exactly. All right, well, let's talk about this Ask Cryptic because there was a few things that I like, and I saw a list of things you liked.
One of the most interesting tidbits that I'm excited about is that we finally got a tentative date for the crew system that's coming out. They're saying Season 4.
Crew system is going to include some rumored possibilities of promoting a Boff, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And then also
this is also setting one as like your chief engineer,
right,
your medical officer.
And then also
like
there's some conversations about including in that the ability to have one uniform theme applied to.
Mm-hmm. One uniform to rule them all.
I'll believe that when I see that one. For some reason, I feel like the tech for that seems to be a more challenging one.
Right, but if that is one of their major features, all of these crew upgrades, all set aside for Season 4, I actually believe they could do that. And
okay,
it could
part
be
of
some
Season 4, yeah.
Yeah, I think it could be some major upgrades to the overall playability of the game, and I think it could add a lot to the feel, the Star Trek feel of it. Which
yep. Having your chief engineer, and I kind of have that assignment in my head now.
Yeah. But if you get an extra bonus, like a +2 to warp core training because you have a certain type of engineer set up.
Exactly.
That's great.
That would be
good
very
stuff.
slick. All right, anything else in there?
More voiceovers.
Oh.
Cryptic wants to add. Oh, and the other thing that kind of goes hand in hand.
More voiceovers.
I know. Theoretically, it's a great idea, but then I keep thinking
it could be done.
Guardian of Forever.
I don't want to hate, but actually, as part of the Tribble test weekend, I did just recently replay the Guardian of Forever, and to be honest, I just kind of started skipping through it after a bit. Not to be mean to anybody. It's just it's a hard thing to get right, and when it doesn't sound like the exact original, it just doesn't work for you.
Right. So they got to get it right. That's one of those things you just got to get it right.
If they add voiceover to UGC, to the Foundry, and you could go in there and do your own voiceovers, you'd like to do that.
Yeah, but then you'd get little kids going, aha, papa, cuckoo, into their microphones.
Well, and they get downvoted.
Yeah, that's, I guess.
Yeah. All right, I got a few in here that kind of jumped out at me. Do you want to hear them?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Well, the one that first jumped up was fairly early on, and that is I just noticed that a lot of talk about the next Season 4 and 5 that we were not really seeing before, but kind of along those lines was this mention that they want to make the game more Star Trek now. That's what they want to start focusing on, is more Star Trek.
Well, and that's what I meant with the crew system. I mean, the assignment of having a chief medical officer, a chief engineer, and all that is intrinsic, I think, to the Star Trek feel.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree.
It also would go a long way to improving ship interiors, to have your own ship-wide uniform and everything like that. I mean, that is all part of the Star Trek feel. And I think it's a great idea.
And there's also some more locations and elements that they could pull in to give it more of a, little nods and stuff. Something else that kind of was interesting is the question of PvP came up. They answered with this: for additional PvP support, we're looking into ways to incorporate PvP into upcoming story updates. There is also a chance we may release an additional PvP map in Season 4. But my estimate, this is Daniel Stahl, my estimate is there will be some time between Season 5 and 6 where we start to see major features, PvP features, hit holodeck.
I'm really hoping that the major features they're talking about are things like Starbase owning and territorial conflict. Because the fact that they didn't mention it by name in there actually has me a little nervous. That's something that I think anybody playing Star Trek's PvP scene
Player
wants.
Orin territory is a huge one, and something that impacts the world would be great. Like, take that Klingon war and make it matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
They also made mention that they're looking at ways to incorporate PvP support into upcoming story updates.
And you mentioned before the show that you have an inkling that this might be hinting at future weeklies.
I bet. I mean, the weeklies, I think they're seeing a huge influx of active players that jump on the server and they're like, well, let's do something why we have all these people here to make the community stronger, because they really want to build the social aspect of it, so that way people have another level of connection to the game. And so a great way to do that would be, hey, everyone's here, let's take advantage of it, let's do PvP. But I think a lot of people could respond badly to it as well.
Well, you know my takes on PvP. I'm not the biggest fan of it. But as part of a big social experience like that, I think even somebody like myself that's not so keen on player versus player combat, I'd get into it.
Cryptic also has a tendency when it involves the storyline aspect. They seem to start building in, you get a few times, and if you fail, then you still win.
Yeah.
And I could see something like that. Maybe you have to go through the PvP match a few times, but if you don't make it through, you'll probably get a pass.
Oh, you're saying as incorporating it as part of the featured episode.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. I was actually thinking more of like, you know how the dailies have rolled out alongside?
Oh, interesting. Maybe they'll roll out a daily PvP.
Yeah, with a new skirmish map of some sort.
Oh, I could see that too.
Yeah, that was actually the way that my brain was going.
I would like to see it. If you're going to do it, though, I would like to see it incorporated as part of an episode. So maybe like you get up into space, because the problem always comes down to there's not enough Klingon players and Fed players.
Right.
But the idea would be...
But on these weekends, it's so huge.
And maybe there could be some sort of way that you could start the game and you're running around and you join a queue, and while you're doing stuff, you wait for your turn to come up, and then you go into that. So it's not like you have to zone into that and accomplish it and then move on. It just waits for the queue to even out, and then you go in.
I could see a problem coming down the road, though, with new players coming into the game in coming months, and there's not that huge amount of population when they're trying to get through that. You know, when they're trying to get through that mission as a replay.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Huh. So maybe it wouldn't work.
Maybe.
But it's an interesting statement that they made.
They're probably spitballing all this interior on their own side as well.
I want to just give a quick shout out to Mr. Thomas the Cat, who we made mention a long time ago on STOked. He created some of those original mock-ups.
God, that was probably 6 months ago now.
It was a long time. It was before the minigames ever hit, because he created some original mock-ups that Cryptic then bought the concept from him.
Yep.
And now it sounds like Mr. Thomas the Cat is actually working at Cryptic. Yep. And Stahl made mention that maybe even someday they'll get some UI guidance from him in the near future.
Yeah, he wrote...
It's a bit vague.
He wrote an email to us here at STOked to thank us for our part in
cool.
in helping him get the word out about his work, and obtained a position there within the Citadel itself.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
A quick mention, just because the question came up a lot when we interviewed Gozer on the show. The question was asked by one of the submitters, will we see any fixes to Terradome soon, or Into the Hive? Will it be released soon? And the answer is yes. Gozer is working on both of them now.
I know a lot of people will be thankful for that. The special task forces have been neglected. Before we move on from the Ask Cryptic real quick, I wanted to mention that there's been a lot of hints as to what the next weekly series will contain. We've already had it confirmed that it will either take place in the Romulan or Cardassian sectors,
which I'm looking forward to.
I want a reason to return to either of those.
It's been too Romulus, long though, really.
Especially Romulus, because those storylines just kind of stopped. You were left with this big question mark.
I felt that the environments were particularly well done, and also convenient location to Earth space dock.
And I like green.
Yeah, there you go. I don't like the orange and brown so much of the Cardassians.
Yeah.
There's that, too.
So my personal prediction,
yeah,
I would like to see them flesh out Hirogen, because they're kind of a throwaway evil right now. But I'd also love to see a weekly series done in the Mirror Universe.
Oh, boy, that'd be great.
I do have a sneaking suspicion that this is when they're going to pull out the Iconians, though. Which I don't really want to see in a weekly series, because that means they're scalable. That means a Lieutenant 10 could be going up against the Iconians, and that just doesn't make sense to me. I think that they should be a high-end big bad.
So they've also made mention that after they've got a few of these weeklies under their belt, they might go back and revisit. So
a weekly could come out now that just introduces us to the Iconians plotline, and then later on they do the high-end content. Yeah, that could work.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
I'm on board.
You like that?
Yep.
All right, anything else in the Ask Cryptic, or do you want to move on?
But another big announcement from Cryptic, we do have an official launch date for Season 3.
Yeah, we got December 9th.
Now, probably many of you have already heard it by now because it came out last week.
Right, and we're shooting this
on Saturday. And
we understand, but we're excited. Nonetheless, it's been on Tribble for a bit, and
I anticipate that the Foundry will not hit holodeck on the 9th. I anticipate that it will stay on Tribble exclusively for at least a couple more weeks before it actually comes out live. But it's live now. They launched it this week, and then it broke the whole world. They had to take it down for a day, and then they brought it back up. You want to go ahead and get into our thoughts on all that?
I don't want to go into too much yet, because I think I want to wait another week with our hands on it. But I'll just say up front, my initial impressions are I didn't know what to expect. I had completely no idea what my expectations should be, and think I'm going to find setting up interiors more challenging than I expected. But, just before the show on the live stream, you and I were going over a few hacks that you've come up with to take those pre-existing rooms and change the way they look and put up fake walls and facade equipment and stuff like that. And I've often said that sometimes these limitations with the budget in Star Trek TV shows is what made them one of the real widely held beliefs that Star Trek has such a common look and feel for the interiors and things like that is simply because of budget reasons they had to reuse the same sets. And so there is something to that, and some of the things you were doing kind of lended themselves to that, and I could see that maybe I'm going to find little workarounds to be rewarding, but I also think I'll find it challenging. Like placing objects in the world.
Yep.
Having to do the exact measure up, and you can't do it in the 3D space. You have to do it above, and then
go into the map and see how it turned out, and then go back out and fine tool it.
Yeah.
Kind of annoying, but
maybe once I really start to get the hang of things, but it's going to take probably a few months before I'm at that level where I know what my coordinates are going to be.
Right. And actually, I spent almost all of my time in the Foundry doing environment building so far. I have no idea how to do NPCs or stories yet.
I played with it a little bit. I'll say I found space creation to be almost creatively rewarding.
Yeah.
Much more intuitive.
Kind of easy in a way.
The challenge that we were talking about it before the show again, and one of the challenges we mentioned is that you notice that sometimes you get a little thrown off because the background of the world makes it feel like the wall is much farther away than it is. So sometimes
the scale's a little
the scale
different than what you expect.
Yeah. But I threw together some fun looking space scenes with some flying around ships, and of course I threw the NX in there because I had access to that, and I threw in an Excelsior. I mean, it was really cool.
Yeah.
So that part
I'm looking forward to playing with it a lot more.
That part really, the space thing, I think is going to be creating my own missions and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You were saying that environment building is probably one of the more difficult things that you'll come across. I actually think that it will be the more immediately rewarding, because you're able to place something and then see it immediately. Whereas with missions, you have to be able to know that you're hooking these things up correctly so that they make a cohesive chain that you can then go in and try out and test your mission.
I see.
Because if you screw up step 1, you don't know if step 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are working.
Right.
Because you're stuck at step 1. So it's going to be, I think, more difficult to set your mission, your story objectives than it will be to actually create maps.
I can see that, and the real challenge will be in creating interesting and fun to play missions.
Yeah,
we'll see how that turns out. Now, this tool is definitely a tool. It's a real. It's much more. You know what? That almost sums it up. It's more than I was expecting.
It's way more than I was expecting. I frankly was expecting to be disappointed with the amount of options available to me and the user friendliness of it. Both have surprised me pleasantly.
The amount of options and things you have to be able to do. The UI, I can't imagine a different. I mean, how do you build a UI around that? So the fact that what they have gotten so far in this early beta stage is pretty good. It's a really intuitive interface in that you are only given as much information as you need at a particular point. And when you click on something, it gives you the new options that you're required in order to interact with that object or that story. It's icon. One of these things that's going to be riddled with tricks. Little ways to do things, something just off, something over here, something that if you do this and then click on this other thing, you have another option.
Right.
So I can foresee a ton of tutorials and information we're going to do in future episodes of Stoked.
I'd actually like to give a shout out to starbaseugc.org, which we have mentioned previously on this show. They have already, these guys must have been in the beta or something, because they've already put in together some fine video tutorials to get you started on crafting your missions in the Foundry. I think once we start to wrap our brains around it, we'll probably do some live Q&As on the live stream that we do here. So watch our Twitter feeds or go over to facebook.com/JupiterBroadcasting for announcements when we'll be doing that. Absolutely. Now, along with the Season 3 stuff, there's some crafting improvements. Yes, there have been. I have not looked at all the crafting stuff yet. No, I didn't either, because I glanced over the first initial draft that came out probably a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. Okay. And I wasn't impressed. But it was also still just as confusing and just minor tweaks to the existing system. So I was like, I don't even care. Right. I didn't even read it. I know it's my job to read these things and tell you guys about it, but I didn't. I didn't care. Well, they rolled those changes out to Tribble and got a whole lot of player feedback, and they basically scrapped half the system and changed it all over again. Really? That's one of the one things that I'm most impressed with about this is the quick turnaround and suddenly brainstorming a whole new way to do things and implementing it. This is already going to be coming out with Season 3.
They must have had it on a back burner or something, right?
Well, they have been working very hard to get these crafting updates.
Is it more better?
I think it sounds more better. I haven't actually been able to get my hands on it yet. But I've done a lot of thorough reading, and it sounds like exactly what the existing crafting system needed. Primarily, they're going to be streamlining the whole anomalies, crafting recipes. Okay, first of all, they're getting rid of the need to have like a baseline item that you then modify.
That's great right
Replacing them with something called schematics that you also craft.
That's awesome.
So you use basic low-level material to craft a schematic that takes the place of the baseline item you used to require.
I like that a lot.
It's a great change because it makes the crafting system basically self-contained. You're a crafter. The other big change that they're doing is they made a pass of every recipe in the game and streamlined the requirements so that every rank Mark 1 item has the same requirements to build. Every Mark 2 has roughly the same requirements and the same amount of anomalies required.
That will be much easier to follow.
They also, at the same time, streamlined the leveling up process so that you know exactly how many skill points you're going to gain for every single item that you make. It's no longer a crapshoot of knowing whether or not a mine launcher or a torpedo launcher will get you to the next level faster. You will always know.
Going to be so helpful. So, I'm going to start crafting, is what you're telling me.
I'm going to start crafting, is what I'm telling you.
Awesome. Now, it's not even done yet, right? There's even more stuff coming?
Yeah, they're still tweaking all these. There could even be more changes coming.
Oh, yeah. Hey, crafting dance. Crafting dance. What?
For a very long time.
Crafting dance?
No, I didn't want to dance with you.
That's the crafting dance.
I preferred to talk.
Now, I kind of have something I really want to talk about. I'm a ship geek, so
Yeah.
I don't want to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
Ready?
I'm done.
Okay.
You know what? If you want more information about the craft, I wasn't done. Sorry. If you want more information about crafting, check out the show notes. I've got tons of links for you. It's all there.
He's not kidding, you guys. All right. Okay. We really scored on this one because now you've heard us mention before that there's going to be some Borg parts that are going to be bolted onto existing ships, and we've even seen some screenshots of it.
Yep.
And they look pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
I am just personally not a huge fan of Borgs. And so having these Borgy chunks on my ships,
what?
I think they're ugly. I think that the aesthetics of the Borg on my ship.
Yeah, that's the point.
All right.
It's just supposed to look like, man, it's a time of war. I had to equip myself up. I had to integrate this crazy butt technology.
Why can't I slap a bunch of Cardassian technology on there?
Because who wants Cardi technology? Dude, the Borg technology is the Borg.
How about Dominion? With those cool pink lights?
That's not bad. Dominion wouldn't be too bad. But you got to figure by this point, the Federation's probably surpassed the Dominion technology now that the... anyways, okay.
All right.
So, we also, though, thanks to live stream viewer and IRC chat roomer Han Shot First, we got an exclusive look of some Borg equipment on, what was it?
A Maelstrom.
A Maelstrom ship. And he was in by STOked.
Over on Tribble.
Yep, over on Tribble. And one of the devs was in there testing it out, doing some QA work. One of the QA guys was in there.
Attacking people.
And so... Han Shot fired off demo record, and we were able to get a shot of it for the show. So
yeah,
if you're
I've also got pictures in our show notes of the same bits slapped onto a Carfi carrier.
Yeah.
Which is the Fakiri thing that the high-end Klingons can use.
Yep.
Also on an NX-01.
Which is awesome. And a runabout.
And a runabout.
Which is great. A good-looking runabout, too.
Yeah.
So those are in the show notes, and if you're listening to the audio version, watch the video version of this part of the show to see the exclusive.
I got to say, I'm really impressed that these new ship geometry do seem to fit on every type of ship.
Yeah.
So either they had to do a lot of work to get it to fit on every single ship, or these guys are getting really smart about their geometry, of their ship geometry.
What if they're getting all mathy? So, all right. Why don't we talk a little bit about our KDF experiment? We both thought the episodes, they're taking a break.
You know, over the last couple episodes, both the audience and ourselves have been getting really pretty excited about the fact that we're finally digging into the KDF content. We've been getting a lot of feedback about it. You guys have to try this. What do you think about this? Tell us how you're feeling about this particular ship and all that kind of stuff. Well, I have some bad news. Because of the Foundry and because I ran out of content, I'm not going to be playing my KDF for probably a couple more weeks at least.
Ooh, well here, you know, what threw me off track for my Klingon was the tribble test weekend. Because it started on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And, of course, I started playing my Klingon on that Monday.
Yeah.
So I only got to about Lieutenant Commander 5 or something low.
Yeah.
And it was okay. My first initial impression that I got when I logged in as my Klingon for the first time, and it's been a long time since I've logged in as a Klingon. The first thing I got was a hail from a Starfleet officer congratulating me on my 300-day vet reward.
Hey, way to go, man.
Well, yeah, that's great. Except for it's a Fed with a blue dialogue box telling my Klingon.
Yeah.
It was just like immediately. It was just bam, hit me in the face with oh. Thanks.
Yeah.
And
thanks for caring.
The content did feel a bit weak, but then at the same time, it had that cluster where you could go in there and just basically guaranteed fights. And I do like to do that sometimes.
You like space battle a lot. I know that.
And I really like the maneuverability of the Bird of Prey.
Yeah, I know that. Now, as far as running out of content, what I mean by that is that I've played through everything that I can the first time. So I've ran out of original content to do. I can go back and PvP or do dailies or do the clusters or do the Empire defense that Chris was talking about. Mm-hmm. I could grind out on all that stuff. But the problem with that is that I'm always going to be feeling like I'm just doing it so that I can get to new content. And why not just wait? Because with Season 3, we know they're opening Pycanis. Mm-hmm. I probably won't get to it right away because of the Foundry. I'm sorry, but I am waiting for that content. So once I've got those missions, hopefully that'll carry me through to the next PvE mission that I got.
You could always use the Foundry to create content for your Klingon.
I could, absolutely. Here's the thing, though, and this kind of really reminds me, when I was leveling up Borg'd, my Federation character, there was never a point where I didn't have missions in my log.
Yeah.
There was never a point where I didn't even either have a series of PvE episodes that I could do or a patrol.
I ran into a point where I would still be in an area, and I had, because of deep space encounters and PvP matches, I had outranked that area already. Mm-hmm. But I generally always had a few, log entries that I could go play.
Well, that's actually the opposite issue, though.
It is.
You out-leveled the content. Right. In other words, you had too much content
to get through because, early
what
on.
A terrible problem to have.
It was the opposite problem. It really was.
Yeah.
This game is definitely a Federation player's game still. But that said, I did like to defend the Empire quite a bit. I know that's lame. I really wish. I guess we have Starbase 24. It's not the same thing, though.
Someday, yeah.
No, I mean the Feds.
Oh, yeah.
With the Feds having an equivalent. It's nice just to...
The Feds have just basically free-roaming deep space encounters in place of that.
That's true.
But then you have to track them down.
Yeah, and here's why I like it. I like going into a specific cluster or zone, whatever you want to call it, and just know that every time I hit that, I'm going to get space, because I have sometimes like an hour to play.
Yeah.
And if I spend 45 minutes on ground, and really the whole damn time I wanted to blow up a spaceship, it's nice just to know I'm going to get a spaceship.
Yep. It is nice.
So that said, though, my Klingon's on hold too with the Foundry and.
So we'll probably
content.
come back to it with another update after the first of the year or so, sometime around then. Hopefully by that time I will have a chance to dig into those new Pycanis sorties, they call them.
Sir, yes, sir. I like it. Mm-hmm. All right, J-Man. Anything else?
No. I'm really excited for this next episode segment.
Let's get into our Star Trek Geeks gift buying guide. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Star Trek Geek Buyer Guide. Now, this is going to mostly apply to a Star Trek geek, but there's some general geek picks in here,
We've got some gamer goodies here that we're going to get to a little bit later on, but I think the number one thing that everybody needs to know is, what do you get the guy that has everything?
Right. There is always that
Star Trek geek in your life that already, like Chris, who already goes out and he buys all the toys himself, and he's got them all. And what are you ever going to get him? Well, I've got the answer for you right here.
Captain's chair.
The one and only replica Captain's chair. Now, this thing runs just a measly $2,700.
Oh.
It's really affordable, I think.
So what you're saying is we need to buy two and then use them here on the set.
No, we don't need to buy them. There's an internet out there with money, right?
Oh, right. Okay. It's a good thing the internet's rich. Right. That's helpful. This is a great, obviously this is kind of a gay gift that we wanted to put in there, but
$2,700.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Come on, I like it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
There's a whole list we've got, including some of these guys in there, like the new hand phasers
from the new JJ truck.
Yeah, with actual sounds and flipping and
it's got another thing on the back here that I was playing with.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And the actual ship itself, too.
Do you notice how so many...
Whoa.
Do you notice how...
Whoa!
Stop it!
He's firing everything he's got, Jeremy.
Oh, okay. No,
you gotta wait for that to play out.
Expected that to happen.
Yeah.
You notice how so many of these just make noise?
Yeah.
All over the place?
Yeah. Like the tricorder is one of my favorites.
Where's the noise maker?
You first turn on the tricorder, and then these buttons here.
Okay. That's a great noise.
Yeah.
I want one.
Yeah, I know, right? Yep. And it's got a little light up screen on it. It's just a little fake screen that closes up, and there you go.
And it's kind of cheap plastic, but you know what? These things are really fun for Star Trek people because.
Like this one's really neat. This one's got a secret release button that pops off the.
You have to pull that.
What?
Pull the gold thing out.
Oh, pull it?
Yeah.
Oh, and it pops off the hand phaser. So then you have a separate hand phaser. That's
even if you're a Star Trek fan in your life, or if it's you yourself, you might not always pick these things up and start making noises with them. But if
they're fun to look at.
You just put it somewhere, on display.
Yeah, it's like a little piece of Star Trek art.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to give a shout out to one special toy because I'm kind of known for liking to collect these ships.
Yep.
And I think it's important.
This one you've got here is only one of like 15 that you've got in your office.
This is of course like the latest one too because it's the new Enterprise from the movie. But you can also get a lot of the older goodies, like the Enterprise X, the Galaxy X from All Good Things. This is a model you can go out and pick up, and these things are really rare.
Now, this one in particular is really neat because that third nacelle can be slid into the saucer.
Yeah.
It can be hidden away.
I thought you were going to give me a hard time because it's so old.
Like a transformer. Well, no, actually, that's something that I want to get to a little bit later is the fact that if you've got a Star Trek fan in your life, you don't always have to buy them the most recent, state-of-the-art, brand new $3 million toy.
Right.
Sometimes the old things are just as great.
Oh, absolutely. Like this one, so all of the Galaxy X features tuck away. So so this is an Enterprise that transforms from the standard ship to the Galaxy X.
I totally approve.
Yeah, isn't that neat?
Mm-hmm.
That's one you get now. That one is in limited quantity, so you'd have to buy that pretty fast, actually.
Or maybe, we've got links to the Amazon listings, but you might check out places like eBay and things like that might have some of these.
One more mention just from the toy is this wrist one that's from the motion picture. I got this when it was brand new as a gift. It came out in '96, it looks like. And it's just the wrist communicator that...
That's not as old as I thought it was.
Oh. It's the wrist communicator that Captain Kirk uses. It came out a lot later after the motion picture.
Okay.
And this one has a nice feature where it works while it's flipped off.
I don't think that's a feature. I think it's just the power switch doesn't work anymore because you've had it for 20 years.
Yeah, something like that.
But this is exactly what I was talking about. If you've got a Star Trek fan in your life that's a really big fan of the original motion picture, getting them something like that wrist communicator could be like the best present they get all Christmas.
Or this old Star Trek original series tricorder.
I want one of those.
I know, and it's actually only $36, which isn't too bad.
Oh, it must be really cheap.
That's a what?
Don't skimp.
Oh yeah, no, but shoot, I'd still want it. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes. Do you want to talk about anything in particular? Because I want to give a couple of mentions to a few of these items down in the game enhancers. So is there anything from above you want to cover?
No, I think we're ready to move on to those.
All right, now this first one is not really a Star. Well, actually, none of these are just general geek picks.
Oh yeah.
But if you know somebody who's playing Star Trek Online or is gaming and has needs either like a decent router with gigabit wired connections or needs a nice high speed wireless connection, I want to give special mention to this D-Link DAP 255-3. I like this guy because it's dual band.
It is dual band, and it's an N class.
Yep, and that means you're going to get a 2.4 gigahertz general wireless that all the schmucks use, and then it has a 5 gigahertz band that goes further, goes faster and longer and harder.
And the dual band is basically having two streams of the same data sent at all times, right?
They're dual band. Right? They're dual band in this case. D-Link does have a technology like that. I don't know if that's what their dual band might be referring to, the 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz nature of it. Kind of depends, but with the higher 5 gigahertz band, their theoretical maximum wireless speed is 300 megabits.
Wow.
So
for wireless, that's actually really
good, but you're never going to get that. But
well, you're not going to get that.
if you're gaming or you're gaming on a laptop or anything like that, consider something like that. And there's cheaper ones, but I've personally owned that one. I like it.
Especially, this is probably the kind of thing that anybody that's really serious about their PvP is going to want, because that half split second of latency can mean the difference between blowing up gloriously.
Well, and as long as you have the right chip, the 5 gigahertz is a lot more. Sometimes when you're on standard wireless, you have dropouts. And I always tell people don't game on wireless, but if you check our email inbox, you see people in there are doing it.
Yeah.
And the one and
speaking of not gaming on wireless, we've got a good mouse recommendation for you as well.
It seems like it's almost getting harder these days to find good wired mice, but I'm still a big fan of the wired mouse.
I think that if you go for the major brands, the Logitech, Razer, the ones that are really geared for like professional high-end gamers, you're still going to find plenty of wired solutions out there.
I have a Logitech similar to this one, not this exact one, but one of the things I like is it lets you toggle the resolution of the mouse on the fly, which makes it more fast or less fast.
It's also got that weight set.
Yeah, so you can
make it weigh as much or as little as you like.
I honestly did not buy mine because it had that. I thought it would be totally gimmicky, but you know what? It's kind of nice. You can
nice heavy mouse that's got some weight to it really gives you a better sense of control.
Yep, and so I like, and it's a great mouse. It's great shape, and it's lasted me for many hours of gameplay.
And it is wired. That means you're not going to run out of batteries in the middle of combat. You're not going to suddenly have a
signal drop or something like that.
Signal error.
Yeah. Now, one last gaming enhancer. This is especially true for the MMOers out there, like Star Trek Online.
That's an MMO?
Trust me, dude. I didn't even know it until last week. It blew me away. No, we own one of these in our studio here. It's the Microsoft Sidewinder X6 keyboard. And, yep, there it is. And one thing I like about it is the numlocks is detachable and can go on either side.
Yeah. So if you like playing with your numbers on the left?
Or they can double duty as extra macro buttons.
As macro buttons,
so it's nice to have them over there. It comes with macro buttons pre-built in, which is nice. Because then maybe if you want to, if you're in like Control 1, Control 2, Control 6 for this different stuff, save yourself an extra keystroke, map it to a macro button, and then you just touch that.
Single button.
Yep. So that's nice. And this keyboard, a lot of these keyboards with these gaming macro buttons, and I think this one might even be. Do you remember, Jay? Are these hardware macro buttons? Do you remember?
Are they set at the keyboard?
Yeah.
level?
Do you remember how that works?
I actually haven't been able to set your macros on this keyboard yet, so I don't know the answer to your query.
It's pretty good price though, $60.
It's a great price.
Logitech equivalent's over 100.
Yep.
So that's not bad. A few other throwout items we have in the show notes, like the original series Blu-ray.
Really?
You know, the original series, if you've got a Blu-ray player, it's worth picking up.
This set also has all those few like remastered digital effects, right?
You can get it if you get the Blu-ray one. I believe you can watch either version. You can watch the unmastered, touched up, or you can watch the touched up version.
Now, I want to clarify: if you haven't seen screenshots of these, this isn't like the stupid George Lucas revamp style of things. They made it look classic. They just prettied it up.
Spock's skin actually has a slightly green tone to it. They really made the original series color was new, and they really played with color, but they didn't have the technology to really make it vibrant back then.
That's right.
The broadcast medium just couldn't support it, but now they've gone back through. They went back to the original film, the original masters. The color alone is just amazing.
I recall a story that you told me about the first time that an Orion showed up in the original series.
So funny, yeah.
The coloring was handled by a different department.
Yeah.
Because they had to go through chemical processes and things like that. So they shot this girl in green makeup. They wanted her to show up as green.
And this was the first time anybody had ever done full green body makeup.
So they get the dailies back or the clips back from the film processing, the color processing plant, and she's flesh.
Yeah.
So they think, we just got to make her greener.
The camera's just not quite picking it up right.
We got to use darker makeup.
Yeah.
So they reshot it like 3 different shades of green.
Yeah.
And then finally went to the color correctors and said, look, what do we have to do to get her to show up green?
Right.
And they were like, she's supposed to be green?
Yeah. And because they were trying and getting closer and closer to the deadline, the color correcting guys were working harder and harder, and OT and all these extra shifts, working around the clock trying to get the color tones back.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the many stories that's on that Blu-ray set that's pretty good.
Yeah.
They also have a link in there to the DVD set if you don't have a Blu-ray player, but it seems odd to take a TV show from the 60s and get it on Blu-ray, but it's worth it. It looks
I've only
great.
seen just a few brief clips of it, and I think that it's definitely worth it.
All right. Well, that's the buying guide. Check the show notes for all the links. Anything that's on Amazon, just a disclaimer, we do make a percentage of the sale off. It doesn't cost you
nothing.
So we just make a percentage on the sale. It's an Amazon affiliate link.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode of Stoked. Now, coming up next week, we're going to have probably a much more in-depth look at the Foundry. At least more of a review and initial impressions that are a little more in-depth.
Season 3 comes out this week.
Yeah. Oh, on the 9th. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So next week we'll probably be covering a few of what's shown up on
my gosh.
on holodeck.
Next week's episode is going to be nuts, dude. We're going to have Foundry stuff. We're going to have Season 3 stuff. Oh, man. I'm excited. All right, everyone. Well, we'll see you next Tuesday. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. And welcome to our...
Hang on. Sorry. Just screwed up your mojo.
Are you ready?
No, I've got like an eyelash in my eye.
Okay, no, we'll wait here. Let me see if I can find it for you, dude.
No, I got it. I think I got it. Yeah. No, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go. This is the buyer.